Chapter 6 now. It's a long chapter. On the state exam, you're going to get somewhere around 14 to 15 questions. I forgot exactly how many. I believe it's 14 questions on the state exam. Just from this one chapter, chapter 6. Now, chapter 6 deals with financing. This is the one and only chapter that if you could get away with memorizing all the different types of mortgages, the clauses in the mortgages, all the terms of a mortgage, but there's so much to memorize. You have several questions at the end of this chapter, probably around 60 questions. I would advise you to do all the questions in there as well. Someone did ask me last week, it was kind of late, and I just want to clear something up. There are videos, and everyone should have access to every single video that's out there, okay? There are videos on every single chapter, audios on every single chapter, and if for some reason you're not, you got to do the questions at the quiz, the chapter quizzes that's online. You have to do that too. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to register for the state exam. So if for some reason you don't have access or you forgot your password to access the videos and the audios, then contact the school and they'll send back the link so you can get to that. And also, don't forget to start doing all the chapter quizzes. You should have been doing those along as we've been going through every single chapter. Okay. Now, chapter 6 again deals with financing. Now, on the very first paragraph here, I'd like you to actually, you can highlight or put an X by this one. A mortgage is a voluntary lien on real estate. When you borrow money to buy a piece of property, you voluntarily give a lender the right to take that property away from you if you fail to pay back that loan anytime in the future. They're using the property as collateral for that debt. Now, the next paragraph where it says title theory states, the first couple lines you can highlight, put X by that one. Some states, they use what's called title theory. They're called title theory state. What that means, when you borrow money to buy a piece of property, the lender holds on to the title to the property. They would not release the title or give back the title to you until that loan's been paid off. That's called a title theory state. The next paragraph, first two lines where it says lien theory. Some states, they subscribe to what we call lien theory. In the lien theory state, when you borrow money to buy a piece of property, the lender puts a lien on that property. They will not remove that lien until that loan has been paid off, which means you can't sell it or transfer it. That's called the lien theory state. Now, this next paragraph where it says intermediate, Illinois intermediate theory. A intermediate theory state is a combination of lien theory and title theory, which means when you borrow money to buy a piece of property, they not only put a lien on that property, but they also hold on to the title. They will not release the lien. They will not give back the title until the loan has been paid off. That's intermediate theory. Here's what you need to know for the state exam. Illinois does not subscribe to lien theory or title theory. Illinois is known as an intermediate theory state. I want you to think of the I in Illinois for the I in intermediate theory. Some of you will see a question like this that I'm going to mention right now. What does Illinois subscribe to? I'll give you multiple choice. Lien theory, title theory, intermediate theory. The answer is intermediate theory. Okay, I'm having someone that's having difficulty with their audio. All right. Cool. Just give me 1 second. Someone's having trouble. Check your audio. Or reset, reboot. Okay. All right, very good. All right, just want to make sure everyone wasn't on my end, so. Oh. Yeah, I know. It could be on your side, Cos, so I don't know. All right, and now we're back. Let me get back to my textbook. All right, very good, Alberto. So I just want to make sure it wasn't me. So Illinois is known as a intermediate theory state. That's the answer to it. Okay. Now, the very next paragraph where it says whether a mortgage is used, you got to highlight, put X by that one. Every mortgage has what's called a defeasance clause. The defeasance clause means you have a right to pay off your mortgage. Once you pay off your mortgage, they must remove the lien. I'm going to get to that one in a few minutes. Talk more about that. Okay, under mortgage loans, you can highlight this. A mortgage loan, like all loans, creates a relationship between the debtor and the creditor. In the relationship, the creditor loans the debtor money for some purpose, usually to buy a home, and then they agree to pay it back. They're using the property as collateral. Now, on this next page, mortgage loans are secured loans. They have two parts. I want you to highlight, put an X by both of these bullets. The two parts are the debt itself, the money that you borrow to buy the piece of property, and the security for the debt. We're talking about the using a property as collateral. Cassandra, are you checked in? I just want to make sure Cassandra checked in, because I know she was doing a makeup. I guess not. All right. Oh, well. Now, this next line here says, when a property is mortgaged, not a check-in process. I just want to make sure she was online, that she could hear me. There was someone that was doing a makeup class. So apparently she's not here. Maybe she didn't do it. As soon as you sign in, all of you are registered as soon as you sign in. So now, when a property is mortgaged, the owner must execute two separate instruments. One is called the promissory note, which I'll get to in a moment. The other is called the security document, which is pledging the property as collateral. So let's skip down two paragraphs where it says promissory note. Highlight, put an X by promissory note. A promissory note is a personal IOU. When you borrow money to buy a piece of property, the lender makes the borrower or the co-borrower sign this promissory note. The promissory note, how much money you borrowed, what your interest rate is, what your monthly payments are, all those things are incorporated into the note. It's a personal IOU. And if you fail to pay back this loan, they could come after your other assets that you might have. Let's drop down to where it says interest. A charge for using someone else's money is called interest. Interest can be due at the beginning of the payment period or the end of the payment period. Usually it's at the end of the payment period, which is known as payment in arrears. Like today is September 14th. If you close on a property today, your first payment is not October 1st. Your first payment is going to be November 1st. People say, oh, I got a free month. No, you don't have a free month. You have to have possession of that money before they can charge you any interest. So it's usually payment in arrears. Now, let's go to where it says usury. Highlight, put an X by that one. Usury laws are state laws that tells you the maximum interest rate that someone could charge on a loan. Right now, you need to know we have no usury laws here in the state of Illinois. We have no usury laws. It is legal to charge people 500% interest, 1,000% interest, 1,500. even 2,000%. Why? We have no usury laws here. Are there companies out there that charge people 500 to 2,000% interest? Yeah, they are. They're called Title I. They're called payday loan, check into cash, or whatever it's called. Those companies' interest rates start out around between 5 to 700. They go as high as between 1,500 to 2,000% interest. And I think what it is, people kind of go there at the very last minute. I mean, they have nowhere else to go, not the last minute, as a last resort. Maybe they need a few $100s to get their car fixed from the mechanic so they could go to work. Maybe need a couple $100s to get their electricity turned on or something like that, till the next check comes in. But that's what they charge for interest. Those are the worst companies ever, by the way. The worst companies that ever existed. We have no usury laws here. These companies, what they do before they give you the money, they get the information on your friends, your family members, your co-workers, and if you don't pay, they call them up and they threaten them. They threaten those people. I remember years ago, this guy I haven't seen in like over 5 years, he borrowed $250 from one of those companies. And in 6 months, he owed them almost $2,000. It went from $250, actually went up to $1,950. That's how high it went. And he used my name as a reference. So that company calls me up and they says, I owe him $1,950. I go, what for? I didn't borrow the money. He says, doesn't matter. He used your name. Once he uses your name, you're responsible for it. I didn't sign anything. I'm not responsible. I says, I haven't even talked to that guy in like 5 years. Tell you what, why don't you give me his address? I'll go there and I'll collect it for you. Oh, no, we can't do that. I says, I guess you're screwed. He goes, no. He says, you're screwed. He said, if I didn't give him the $1,950, he was going to garnish my wages and ruin my credit. That's what this company said, which is false. They can't, but they try to intimidate people. So honestly, I'm going to tell you exactly what I said. This is exactly what I told the guy. I'm not making any of this up. I says, why don't you give me your address? And let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to drive my car right through the front window of your business. I'm going to kill you and burn down your building. The guy hung up and he never called me again. Never called again. But a lot of people don't know this. It's not legal. It's illegal. But people don't know. People don't know. Now, the one thing I want you to know, we have no usury law, so these companies exist all over Illinois. And there's a reason why. Actually, just to let you know, every year there's about 1,000 bills brought in through the House, Illinois Senate against these companies. About 1,000 a year. And they don't even make it through committee. And the reason why, and this I know for a fact, I know this 100%. A friend of mine, I know him pretty well. He's an Illinois state representative. He serves on a board of directors for one of these companies. He goes to 10 meetings a year for about 3 hours, once a month, nothing during the summer, just 10 times a year. And he makes $120,000 a year for serving on this board of directors for one of these companies. A lot of our politicians serve on these boards and they get paid a lot of money. That's why they can't do anything about these companies. They're all getting paid for it. I hate it when these companies, they open up near military bases. Used to be military personnel used to get paid once a month, now get paid twice a month, but they run out of their money. They run out of money. And then they borrow from these places and the check goes right from the service, from the government, right to them. They can't even get out of the hole. It's a awful company, but there's nothing that can be done because the politicians serve on all these board of directors making a lot of money. Believe me, they are. You know, I don't like talking to this guy. I'm still trying to get a license plate from him. He said he's going to give me a license plate that says assistant to the Illinois representative. You know why I want that license plate? I was talking to his wife. I says, I need that license plate from your husband. She says, I, I don't know what you're talking about. I go, you ever notice when you go out with your husband that he parks wherever he wants? He can park in the handicap zone, tollway zone, or anything else. He never gets towed away. Oh yeah, he does. That's because he has that Illinois representative license plates. I says, I need a copy of that. It's called assistant. So I can park wherever I want, never have to pay anything, never get towed. So I'm working on that. She didn't even know. Now, let's skip down to, so remember, Illinois has no usury laws. Don't forget that. Usually you see that. Now, loan origination fee, like in the highlight, put an X by this paragraph. A loan origination fee is a fee that a bank would charge against a consumer because they can. Why? Because that consumer's credit is not as good, or he has a small down payment, or low credit scores. See, if you had a long time employment, you have, and say you have high credit scores and a good down payment, no late pays, pretty much you could go to any bank and they're happy to work with you. You're not a risk for them to give you any money to buy property. But there are people with a smaller down payment, they have some late pays, they have low credit scores, and because of their situations, a bank will charge them a loan origination fee. Why? Not too many banks want to work with that person. They says, yeah, we'll give you the loan, but you're going to pay us a loan origination fee. Now, let me give you an example. Loan origination fee. Is based on a percent of the loan amount. So if a bank's going to charge you a loan origination fee of 1, it's going to be 1% of the loan amount. If they're charging you 2, it's going to be 2% of the loan amount. Let me give you an example. Let's say the purchase price of a property. Let's say the purchase price is $300,000. You have a down payment of $50,000, which means you're getting a loan for the difference, $250,000. If a bank's going to charge you a loan origination fee, they're going to go with where's my pen? Here it is. A loan origination fee of 2 is going to be 2% of this loan amount. So 2% of 250,000 comes out to $5,000. This $5,000 has to be paid at closing. None of this $5,000 goes towards the purchase price, the down payment, or the loan amount. It's an extra fee that the consumer has to pay at the closing to get this loan. Again, not everyone pays a loan origination fee. Only people that credit's not that good, or down payment or work history is not that established, those are the people that pay it. I'll give you an example in a little bit about questions on this. Now, let's talk about points, discount points. Highlight, put X by that one. Points is interest paid in advance. Now, each point, and if you go to that next big paragraph for the borrowers, 1 discount point equals 1% of the loan amount, and it's charged as prepaid interest on the closing. It increases the investor's yield by 1/8%. Let me, because you got problems on this too, let me explain this one. Points is interest paid in advance. Oops. Interest paid in advance. Points, like loan origination fee, points is based on the loan amount. And let me explain. You can buy down the interest rate by paying points. Now, let's say most anybody could get an interest rate right now of, say, 3% interest rate on a loan. Most anyone could get that with 0 points. Most people will be able to get that. Now, so sorry about that phone. There's not everyone that claims all the money that they make. There's people that work for cash. They don't claim all the money that they make. So what happens, what they want to do is they want to lower the interest rate. The people that don't claim all the money they make, people in the cash business, you take bartenders, restaurant servers, maybe hairstylists, anyone that works in the cash business, they do not claim all the money they make. So they're not filing enough on their taxes. They want to buy a home and they don't earn enough on what they file. Well, bank says we can lower the interest rate if you pay points. You don't qualify for a loan at 3%. Each point you pay lowers the interest rate by 1/8%. Should write that down. Each point paid lowers the interest rate by 1/8%. So you don't qualify at a mortgage at 3%. Well, bank says, tell you what, you got cash. Why don't you give us 1 point, pay us 1 point in cash? We can lower the rate by 1/8% to 2 7/8%. Guess what? Maybe you don't qualify at 2 7/8. Well, if you pay another point, let's bring it up to 2. We're going to lower the interest rate another 1/8%. Bring it down to 2 3/4. That's what it comes out to. You don't even qualify at 2 3/4. You pay another point up front. They're dropping another 1/8 point to 2 5/8%. Okay, you qualify at 2 5/8, but now you have to pay 3%. So the purchase price of a property, using the same example, is $300,000. You're putting a down payment of $50,000. You're getting a loan for the difference, $250,000. Bank says you have to pay 3 points to get the interest rate at 2 5/8. 250 times 3%. Each point is 8% of the loan amount. This comes out to $7,500. Yeah, it's a one-time fee paid at closing. None of the $7,500 goes towards your purchase price, down payment, or loan amount. It's just an extra fee paid at closing. Now, the bank's going to charge you loan origination fee of 2 and points of 3. That's $12,500. Talking about this $5,000 here for the points. I mean, loan origination fee. and the 7,500 right here. You're gonna have to come up with that money at the closing. Now, if people have money, if you do have cash, and you know you're gonna live on a property for a long time, you are better off paying points to lower the interest rate because you wind up saving a lot of money, a lot of money. I mean, if you pay 2 points in interest up front, you could probably save close to $100,000 in interest over the life of 30 years. That's just a fact. That's what it is. So, tell you what, how about if I give you a problem? Okay. A property sold for $450,000. Down payment was 20%. The lender's charging loan origination fee of 2 and points of 3. Question is to you, and I want all of you to figure this out. How much did the buyer pay in points? So property sold for $450,000. The buyer put a down payment of 20%. He's getting charged a loan origination fee of 2. He's getting charged 3 points. Question is, how much did the buyer pay in points? Take a moment. Figure it out. Type in your answer. I'll let you know. We'll do it together then. This, by the way, this problem I just gave you, it's what all of you should see on a state exam. So you know what I expect out of all of you right now? To attempt to answer this problem. Every one of you. All right, here, listen. I'm going to do this one more time. I don't have to do this. You know why? I already know the answer, and I don't have to take the test. But guess what? All of you do. So at least you got to try to solve this problem. All of you. That's what I expect. So a property sold for $450,000. The buyer's put in a 20% down payment. It's being charged loan origination fee of 2. He's charging points of 3. Question is, how much did the lender charge in points? Because you know what? To me, it doesn't matter. I already know the answers to all of these. And I expect all of you to do this. You know what's real easy to do with these courses, because they're done on webinar? It's easy to turn on your computer, then go and walk the dog or go watch TV or anything else. And this is the way me and the school knows that you're staying with me. I don't care if you're eating right now. I don't care if you're having a glass of wine or anything else like that. But I do expect all of you to answer all of this. all these questions. So, you're confused when it comes to the points, Shanice. What are you confused about so I can help you? Points and loan origination fee. Points and loan origination fee is always paid on the loan amount. Now, what I'm asking, Tamara, not asking for the down payment. You got to read the question. You don't understand the calculation. Okay, I'm going to show you. At least try, and if it don't try, I'm going to show you. I guess a lot of you are confused. So let's solve this problem. Okay. Oh, let me bring it back down so see it. So a property sold for $450,000. The buyer put down a 20% down payment. 20% of 450,000 is $90,000. That's your down payment. You only pay points on the loan amount only. So minus the 90,000 down payment, like I said, points and loan origination fee are always paid on the loan, nothing more, which comes out to $360,000. The lender's charging 3 points, 3% of 360,000. If it's 1 point, it's 1%. 2 points, 3% of the loan amount. Comes out to $10,800. And that is your answer. You know why? All I ask is, what are they paying in points? I'm not asking about loan origination fees. See, this particular question is exactly what you will see on a state exam. They try to confuse you. Well, there's a lot of trick questions. I'm going to cover all of them with you. Believe me, there's a lot of them. So I gave you information you don't need. We don't need loan origination fee. We don't need that. So, okay, Christina, you're okay with that. By the way, if you included loan origination fee of 2, if you add those two numbers together, you get 5% of that amount comes out to about, I don't even know what it comes out to. Let me tell you. 360 times 5% comes out to $18,000. If you put that for an answer, that's one of the answers that's out there. Can we try another one? Yeah, we can. The loan origination fee has nothing to do with the equation. That's because they give you information that you don't need. Okay. Now, let me just clear this out right now. All right. A couple of people asking for one more. 3 points is 3%. That's correct. All right, you want another one? I'll give you another one that's like on what might be on the state exam. Property sold for $390,000. The down payment is 25%. The buyer agrees to pay loan origination fee of 1 points. Nope, let me change that one. The buyer and the seller agree to split three points. The buyer and the seller agree to split 3 points. Question is, how much did the buyer pay in points and loan origination fee? There. Go ahead with that one. You know, it's very unusual that usually with the math problems, a lot of people want to skip them. And I'm glad that you're asking for more because, you know, once you understand it, you kind of like it. I don't know if you really like math, but, you know, you like to understand it. So, and that's good. So let me take a quick look. Okay, I got all kinds of answers here. Okay. So let's solve this problem. Here, a property sold for $390,000. And they're putting 25% down. Multiply this by 25% down. Why? Because points and loan origination fee are always based on the purchase price, on the loan amount, not the purchase price. So 390,000 times 25% equals 97,500. Minus the 97 down payment, 97,500 leaves me with let's see, 390 minus 97,500, which means the loan amount is 292,500. This is the loan amount. 292,500. So the buyer and the seller agree to split the discount points of 3. But the question is, how much did the buyer pay in points and loan origination fee? Well, 292,000 times 3%. that will give me $8,775. 8,775 total points. Divide that by 2 because they agreed to split that, buyer and the seller, equals 4,387.50 and 50 cents. That's a buyer's share on points, but I'm asking, what did the buyer pay in points and loan origination fee? So again, I take the 292,500 times 1%. Gives me $2,925. I need to add that to the points, the 1.5 points, 2,925. And then get some room over here. Here's what the seller paid. The buyer paid, sorry. How much did the buyer pay in points and loan origination fee? I gotta add those together. $7,312.50. See this problems? These are the problems that you're going to see just like this. Anybody have any questions? Because they split the points, they each pay 1.5%. That is correct. Loan origination fee is $29.25. The points is that portion of the points came out to 43,87.50. Together came out to 73,12.50. Yes. Okay, it seems like most of you got this. The question is, if you took the 292,500 multiplied by 1.5, yes, they'll give you the same answer. Now, here's the thing I want to tell you what I do. I try to teach the math the easiest way possible. There are a lot of shortcuts in this, a lot of shortcuts. If you know how to do it by the shortcut, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. But I'm trying to teach it as basic as possible. So, Kos, what is it that you're confused about? So I can explain this to you. You said you're confused. What is it that you're confused about? If you could tell me. Oh, okay. All right. And that's fine, Kos. Like I said, there are shortcuts and easier ways of doing it, but not every one of us is at the same level of math. We're not all at the same level. So that's why I try to teach you the easiest way I know how. And again, you got a shortcut, you want to do an easier way, skip a step. If I did what you just said there, at least half the people would not quite understand it. So I just don't want to confuse them. I want to, because they're going to say, where did you get the 1.5? Well, I don't have 1.5 on there, but it's a given. But a lot of people, I just want to make sure everyone knows exactly where I'm coming from. That's why I do it the long way, if you want to call it that. Now, last paragraph on this page, it's called a prepayment penalty. Now, if you pay off your loan early, a bank could charge you a prepayment penalty. Let's say you bought a house today, and the next day you won the lottery. Now you want to pay it off. Well, bank would charge you for paying off your loan early. Why? They're expecting you to keep this house for so many years, and it's all the interest in the very beginning. That's why they charge a prepayment penalty. So you can't charge a prepayment penalty on loans over 8%. Under 8%, yeah, they can. No, wait, I said it wrong. Oh, yeah, under 8% they could. If it's over 8%, they can't charge you a prepayment penalty for paying off your loan early. Now, let's talk about a deed of trust. Now, a deed of trust is a financing instrument that's often used with, this is often used with commercial investments. Now, one second. Deed of trust. Whenever anybody borrows money to buy any investment property, the lender makes them put the property in a deed of trust. Now, in the deed of trust, there are three parties in the deed of trust. There's a trustor, there's a trustee, there's a beneficiary. The trustor is the owner of the property. The trustee is the lender, the bank. The beneficiary, well, it could be one or two people. It could be the owner of the property. If the loan is paid off, then the owner gets the property. But the beneficiary could be the lender. If the owner defaults, on the mortgage. See, this allows the lender, and it's only for investment property. This allows the lender to go ahead and sell that building within weeks. They don't have to wait a year for it to go through the courts. It doesn't go through the courts. You default, they automatically own that property. You don't agree to sign this deed of trust? Well, guess what? They're not going to give you a loan on a property. This is how the bank protects themselves. Now, provisions for default, you can highlight that paragraph. There is a acceleration clause, so if you default on the loan, the bank can accelerate the loan, which means I want all the money you owe us and we want it now. That's what the acceleration clause. Okay. Now, discount points and investors yield, as I mentioned before, each point that a borrower pays lowers the interest rate by 1/8%, or hold on a second. It's supposed to be, okay, let me read this line to you. I see a mistake here. As a general guideline, each discount point paid to the lender will increase the investor's yield, return, it says, by approximately 1/8 of 1%, or it's 0.0125, I believe. It's not 0.0125 or 0.00125. It's not that amount. So it's wrong in there. It's always 1/8, yes. Why is that amount? I don't know. The banks came up with it. Is that on a state exam 1/8? Yes. Okay. It's what it is. I'm just giving you the facts. I don't know why. That's what the banks figured out. It's fair. Now, assignment of the mortgage towards the bottom of this page. You can highlight this one. Bank has a right to assign the mortgage. It means they have a right to sell that property. Yeah, it's not 0.00125. It's 0.12. Wait, 0.125. I think it's 0.125. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I know that's wrong. I got to correct that. Now, assignment of a mortgage. Bank has the right to sell your mortgage to other investors. By the way, if any of you owned a home for more than 10 years with the same lender, your mortgage has probably been sold, I would say, at least 3 or 4 times. Now, when they sell your mortgage to other investors, which I'm going to talk later on this evening about that, when they sell your mortgage to other investors, they usually, the interest rate cannot be changed. The monthly payments will not be changed. All that remains the same, no matter how many times it's been sold. They sell at a discount so the banks could lend out more money. I'm going to explain this a little bit later on this evening. Now, you see this next paragraph, release of a mortgage lien. Highlight, put an X by it. I see 3 questions in this particular paragraph. So, release of a mortgage lien. So, highlight, put an X by it. Let me explain it to you. When you borrow money to buy a piece of property, the lender puts a lien on that property. They will not remove the lien to the loan that's been paid off. Now, every mortgage has a defeasance clause, which means you have a right to pay off the loan. Once you pay off the loan, the lender must remove the lien. How does the lender remove the lien? They must file a satisfaction of mortgage. So let me explain all that again. When you borrow money to buy a piece of property, the lender puts a lien on that property, which means you can't sell it till the lien has been removed. Every single mortgage has a defeasance clause. Defeasance clause means you have a right to pay off your mortgage. Once you pay off your mortgage, they must remove the lien. How do they remove the lien? They must file a satisfaction of mortgage. That's what that whole paragraph says. Okay, tax and insurance reserves. Now, those of you that own a home, the day you close on your property, you have to come in with a insurance policy paid for 1 year in advance. Whose name on the insurance policy? Well, the lender's name is on the insurance policy. So in case a house burns down, the lender gets paid for what's owed to him, and then anything left over comes out to you. So you pay for that mortgage loan for 1 year, 1 year in advance. Then what the lender does, they take the insurance policy and they divide it up by 12 months and they add that to your monthly payments. That's where we get the PITI. And then when you get your insurance bill the next year, you mail it to the bank and they're paying with the money they've been collecting in advance from you. So that's what the, and same thing with your property taxes. Whatever your property taxes are for the year, they take that amount, they divide it by 12 months, and they add that to PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So when you get your tax bill, you send that back to the bank. You're paying every month. Well, when you get the bill, you send it to the bank. Now, they call that the poor man's way of paying the property taxes and insurance. Why? It's easier to come up with $400 to $500 a month than to come up with thousands of dollars, all at once at the end of the year. So let's skip down to the next page. Assignment of rents. Now, this is for commercial property. What I want you to know about this is that if you own any commercial property and you default on the mortgage loan, the lender can't assign the rents to themselves. Why? They're taking the biggest risk, and they don't want you coming in there and collecting the rents and not paying the mortgage. So they assign the rents to themselves. All commercial property, all income-producing property has that. Now, the next paragraph, highlight, put X by, where it says assuming a seller's mortgage, highlight those 2 lines, highlight and put X by it, highlight, put an X by number 1 and 2, and the next 2 paragraphs as well. Highlight, put X's by them. Assuming a seller's mortgage. So let me take a moment and explain what that is. Now, okay. I sold my property to you for $400,000. And I have a mortgage and I owe on my property $340,000. I have equity is the difference. Equity is the difference between what I owe on a property and the value of my property. So I got 60,000 in equity. I'm going to sell my home to you, and you can take over my mortgage payments. You give me 60,000, that's basically your down payment. You take over my mortgage payment. That's a mortgage assumption. Now, whatever my monthly payments are, your monthly payments will be the same. Whatever my interest rates are, your interest rate will be the same. That's a mortgage assumption. Now, you don't see mortgage assumptions going on now. Why? The interest rates are very, very low. And most of you are way too young and don't know this, but I'll explain something to you. The year was 1981. Jimmy Carter was president before that, and Reagan took over right after that. Now, I bought my first house in 1981. That's the year you were born in. I know, so I know how old I am. So I bought my first house in 1981. I had a really good job. I was a Teamster truck driver. A Teamster truck driver. Been doing that for 9 years, driving a truck. I also had a big down payment. I had about a 45% down payment. I had excellent credit scores. It was like 900, when no one ever saw that kind of credit scores. And the best interest rate I could have found was 18%. 18% for someone like me. That was the best interest rate that I could have gotten. That's how bad it was. You saw a lot of mortgage assumptions coming on, because if you had a mortgage at 7, 8, or 9%, I assume that mortgage, it's a lot cheaper than me paying 18%. I did not assume a mortgage that year. That year, I had a big enough down payment. I bought the house from a judge, and he wound up paying off his ex-wife, and he financed it myself at 11%, which was a bargain. But if I didn't pay him off in 3 years, it would jump up to 16%. That's what was going on throughout the early 80s. So you saw a lot of mortgage assumptions going on during the 70s and late 70s, early 80s. Now, there are two types of mortgage assumptions. I'm going to write them down. The first one is called a subject to. A subject to mortgage assumption is this: the new buyer takes over the mortgage payments. Takes over the mortgage payments. If the new buyer defaults on the payments, the seller is still liable. So I sold my home to you on a subject to mortgage assumption. I'm gonna move this up. It's not writing right. I sold my home to you in a subject to. Now you are primarily responsible. You're the new buyer. You are primarily responsible for making the payments. If you do not, I'm still liable for it. That's called a subject to. Now another way of a mortgage assumption, they call this one assuming a mortgage. Assuming a mortgage. Now, in assuming a mortgage, the new buyer is the only one responsible. The seller's off the hook. So I sold you my property in assuming a mortgage. So you now as a new buyer, you're the only one responsible. If you don't pay, they come after you. I am off the hook. So I want you to be a little bit familiar with both of these. Whose credit report would the house show? Well, on the first one, on a subject to, it's based on the seller. On the second one, assuming the mortgage, the buyer has to go through a credit report, but it's not intense as getting a brand new one. It's not as intense as getting a new mortgage. It's kind of like a slimmed down version of credit report. So basically, you want to make sure they have a job more than anything else. So, okay. You saw a lot of mortgage assumptions going up in the 80s, a lot, because of the high interest rate. It's the only way people could buy a home. Now, alienation clause. So let's skip down 3-4 paragraphs where it says alienation clause. Highlight, put an X by it. Do not forget this. Alienation clause is the same thing as the due on sale clause, which means the loan cannot be assumed. All conventional mortgages, which I'm going to talk about later on this evening, all conventional mortgages, they all have a due on sale alienation clause. Owner financing, I'm going to talk about that later. That's when the owner is going to finance the property. Generally only happens if the owner owns the property free and clear, and usually it's only commercial property. But I'll cover that when I get to chapter 12. Now, foreclosure. Now, foreclosure is a legal procedure in which property pledge as security is sold to satisfy the debt. So you defaulted on the payments, so the bank can go ahead and sell that property because you use that property as collateral. Now, methods of foreclosure. There are 3 general types of foreclosure. I like you to highlight, put an X by the first 2 bullets here. The first one is called non-judicial foreclosure. Non-judicial foreclosure happens through a deed of trust, which I said was used for investment property. Now, deed of trust has what's called a power of sale, which means if you default and it's used for commercial property, you default on that loan, well, the lender could go ahead and sell that property without going through the courts. But the most common type of foreclosure is the second bullet, which is called judicial foreclosure. In a judicial foreclosure, this is where the lender has to go through the courts to get the property sold. It's a process that could take anywhere from 10 to 12 months till they actually foreclose. And that is the most common type of foreclosure. And then strict foreclosure, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to mention after they give you proper notice, they go ahead and they foreclose. That's all I want to say about that. Now, let's go on to deed in lieu of foreclosure. Illinois is a judicial foreclosure state with residential properties, yes. Now, A deed in lieu of foreclosure. No, it's okay. Any of you have any questions, long as it pertains to anything about the exam or something you're not clear on? I'm more than happy to explain that to you, okay? Don't apologize for asking questions. Sometimes what I don't like is when people ask, I had an uncle that did this, and you're saying just the opposite. Well, guess what? Your uncle's not on the state exam, so I don't want to hear about your uncle. You have questions on what I'm talking about, something you're not clear on, don't worry. I'm more than happy to answer those questions. But don't tell me you had a cousin, I had a friend who had a neighbor that they met at the grocery store that did this. So, another question here. PSI is now September 2020. Do we use that edition or the one present in the class of 2019? You're talking about the textbook? I'm not sure what you're talking about in that. Clear that up for me. I'm not quite sure. The A&P, for the A&P exam, I don't know what the 2020 means. I mean, as far as the questions, I'm giving you all up-to-date questions. So the A&P is a test, and the candidate's handbook. Don't worry about the candidate's handbook. It doesn't really matter if you use the 2019 or the 2020. That doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I'm letting you know up to date what's on there. One more thing I want to tell you about A&P: when you register for the state exam, they try to sell you a practice exam. Now I want to tell you this. They used to charge $4.50 for that practice exam, which I spent $4.50 for it. This is about 5 years ago. It was the biggest piece of crap I ever purchased in my entire life. And I spent $450, $4.50, and it wasn't even worth a penny. Piece of junk. So guess what they did? They came out with a new sample questions, and they charged $30 for it. It is the same thing that I paid $4.50 for. So all it is just the same crap at a lot more money. Do not buy what A&P is selling, that practice exam. By the way, you do everything I tell you to do. I take the test myself. I'm going to make sure you're prepared for it. So you really don't need any outside sources. I will talk about something later on because there's a company that provides something, and it's Exam Smart. I'll talk about that one a little bit later. Now I lost my pen. Oh, here it is. Okay. Now, let's see. I got another question here. For a borrower, is there a preferred route between a deed in lieu of foreclosure and a short sale? Yeah, they're completely two different things. I'm going to talk about them right now. Now, another question regarding the subject to under the assuming the seller's mortgage section. If the buyer defaults on the mortgage, why is the seller still liable? Because in a subject to, that's what it means, that the a buyer's taking over the mortgage, and it's not so much based on the buyer's credit or the buyer's work history. It's really based on the seller's credit or work history. Now, who would do a subject to? Well, that might be an interesting question. I'll tell you something. There was I had an uncle who worked for Boeing back in the 80s. And when Reagan was president, Ronald Reagan, he was a war hawk. He installed tens of thousands of nuclear warheads all throughout Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, against the Soviet Union, against Russia. I had an uncle who worked for Boeing, which is the largest defense contractor for the United States government. And Boeing was installing all these missile silos all over the country. My uncle was a project manager, and he would be on the job for a couple years at a time. Well, once they build these missile silos, they need someone to maintain them. And my uncle, working side by side for a couple years with some of these young guys, he sees a young guy, he just got married, starting a family. He would buy a home. He bought a home because he's out there for a couple years, and then he let someone assume it in a subject too, because the guy didn't really have credit or anything, but he knew the guy had a good job and a lifetime job because he had to maintain these missile silos. So he did that several times. That's just, he says, I knew the guy. I worked with him. He was a good worker. I know he was going to be there. So that, and he gave the guy a break. By the way, those missile silos, they were those nuclear warheads. You know what they were called? Peacekeepers. They were called peacekeepers. I think I still have the jacket and the hat my uncle gave me. It shows the nuclear warhead blasting off from the missile silo. Right at the nose of the nuclear warhead, they have a white dove with the olive branch for peace in its mouth as it's ready to fly out and destroy another country. Actually, well, that was their symbol. So that's what that is. Let's go on to deed in lieu of foreclosure. You got highlight, put an X by that. A deed in lieu of foreclosure is also called a friendly foreclosure. Now, sometimes when a banker sees that a person is falling behind on their mortgage payments, they will call up the owner and says, look, you're falling behind. This is mostly what commercial is done with. You're falling behind on a mortgage. Why don't you just come into the bank, sign the deed over to us, bring us the keys, and we're not going to go after you for any outstanding balance. So they would do that when they want the building themselves, or they have a friend of theirs that want to buy a certain building. I have a friend of mine, close friend of mine. He owns a big bank, big independent bank in Chicago, far northwest side. His wife owns a real estate company on the far northwest side. She wanted to open up another office in the Wicker Park area. She says she told her husband, I need a storefront. Give me a storefront. So he found out a guy in Wicker Park that's falling behind, had a couple stores and a couple apartments above the store. And the guy's falling behind. So he went over to the guy and says, look, you're falling behind. You're not going to catch up. You don't want to go into foreclosure because that's going to be against your record. So why don't you come in and just sign the deed over to us, and I won't go after you for anything that you owe. And he did, and he gave it to his wife. So if a banker wants it, they would do that with people. That's called a friendly foreclosure. Now, a short sale, and I don't even know why they use the term short sale, because it's not short, it's long. It's something that's going to take at least 6 months, sometimes longer. Now, this is a short sale. First of all, a person has to qualify for a short sale. Just because they don't want the property anymore, they can't say, I want to do a short sale. You have to qualify. There are 3 things you need to qualify. First, you have to owe more on the property than the value of the property. Second of all, you have to have some type of a hardship, maybe a death in a family or a serious illness of yourself or someone else in your family. And the third thing is you have to have a reduction in income. That's the only way you could qualify for a short sale. I mean, I have had people, dozens and dozens of people walk in my office, says, I don't want the house anymore. I want to do a short sale. You can't, because you don't want the house anymore. You can't. There's this one guy, he owned a 4-unit building. He had the building paid off. He owed nothing on it. When the market was real hot and the value's increasing in the mid 2000s, he borrowed $525,000 on a property he had no mortgage on. So he borrowed $525,000. And then the values drop and he didn't want the house anymore. He says, I don't want it anymore. He says, I just want to do a short sale. You can't do a short sale. I says, you got it over $500,000. What happened to that money? He says, I spent it. What do you spend it on? How do you spend $500,000? What do you got to, did you invest in another building? Did you buy a new car? Did you buy anything? He goes, no, I just spent the money. He spent over $500,000 and nothing to show for it. Not even a new suit, nothing to show for it. So the people just went nuts back in the mid-2000, 2004, 2005, 2006. Just went crazy for that. Didn't make any sense whatsoever. So, got a question here. Will a short sale be easier to obtain with COVID? No, no. The problem with a short sale is this. If someone's not paying their mortgage and they have to go into a short sale, they have to be behind on a mortgage. I'm telling you, you got deferred maintenance on a property. They're not putting any money into the property. You're going to wind up with a lot of problems there because they haven't paid their mortgage for several months, even over a year or something. So no, I don't. A lot of people want to do is buy a short sale because they think they're getting a bargain. They think they can buy a home. Here's what the people think, because I get people asking me this all the time. Sam, find me a home, a short sale or a foreclosure that I can pick up for like 50,000, spend 5,000 to repaint and put new carpeting, and now it's going to be worth 125,000 or 200,000. What are they, nuts? They are. You get into that, you're going to find all kinds of problems with the property. That I promise you, you will have. So, in fact, there's the to qualify for a short sale, 1, 2, 3 is on there, so you can go over that yourself. Now, in a short sale, they will accept less than what's owed. They sell the property for less than what's owed, and they will not go after the owner. There's that Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act. They will not go over the owner, after the owner, for the outstanding balance. That's if Congress renews this. They have to renew it every single year. So far, they've been doing that. But if they don't renew it, it happens in February, then they will send you, let's say they sold the property for 300,000 and you owe 150. Well, what they could do is send you to the IRS a 1099 saying that basically you made 150,000 on it. And the IRS, even though the bank forgave you, the IRS will not forgive you. And so what will happen is that IRS will send you a bill that you owe taxes as if you made 150,000. And guess what? You're going to owe the IRS 40 to 50,000, and the IRS will not forgive you at all. Generally, a short sale does not show up on a credit, whereas a foreclosure will. Short sale does not generally show up on a credit. Now, HAMP, Home Affordability Modification Program, is a government program that was created in 2009. And the purpose of this program was to help 2 million homeowners keep their properties. But the terms were not realistic, okay? It was really awful. It's supposed to help 2 million homeowners. It only helped 2,500 homeowners. Banks created their own instead of going through the federal government. Why? Because the federal government red tape is just outrageous. Same thing with the HAFA program. So they enter a short sale or deed when someone falls a little bit behind. Now, we got another question here. It says here, so a deed in lieu preferable overall given to the given a swifter turnaround. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, they just do that right away. The same day it can be done. Walk in, sign. All right, now you're out of it. Yes. Deed in lieu of foreclosure is definitely preferred over the other ones. And the bank owns the property, but they don't keep the property. Banks are not, they don't want to own property. They don't make money by owning property. They make money by you making your payments every month. That's how they make money. Now let's talk about redemption. Now, it says most states give defaulting owners a chance to redeem the property. Now, there's 2 rights of redemption. The first one's called equitable right of redemption, so put an X by that one. And then there's statutory right of redemption, put an X by that one. So I'm going to write out exactly what you need to know about redemption rights. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know. So every word here I write down is important. The first one is called equitable right of redemption. Equitable right of redemption. When an owner defaults on the mortgage payments the owner has a right to cure the default. Before the foreclosure sale. Equitable right of redemption, know this. If the owner defaults on the mortgage payments, the owner has a right to cure the default, but they must do it before the actual foreclosure sale. Curing the default, you come up with the money that you're behind, plus whatever interest, late fees, court fees, accounting fees, attorney fees, appraisal fees that goes along with it. Now, what you need to know, besides every word I wrote on here, equitable right of redemption. Where's my pen? I'm losing my pen. Here it is. Is used in Illinois we have equitable right of redemption. Now, let's talk about statutory right of redemption. Know this one too. Statutory right of redemption. If the owner defaults on the mortgage payments the owner has a right to cure the default. After the foreclosure sale. Which, by the way, not used in Illinois. We do not have statutory right of redemption. What we do have is called equitable right of redemption. Make sure you know that. Everything I wrote down, make sure you know that. Now, let's go on to a deficiency judgment. I'd like you to highlight, put an X by that. Now, deficiency, well, before I talk about a deficiency judgment, let me kind of give you an explanation before that. All right. Let's say you fell behind on your mortgage and you owe the bank on your property, you owe them $350,000. And they sold the property at the foreclosure sale for $450,000. There's $100,000 left over. You know who gets that $100,000? You, the homeowner. Why? The bank's only entitled to collect exactly what's owed to them. That's it. Now, let's talk about reality. You owe your bank $350,000, and it went into foreclosure, and is sold for $160,000. Say it's sold for $160,000. You are short $110,000. No, 190,000. You are short 190,000. They will come after you for that 190,000. Why would they come after you for that 190,000? This is a deficiency judgment right here. The reason why they come after you for that is because you signed a promissory note. You promised to pay them back. That's why they could do that. That's what a deficiency judgment is. Happens right after the foreclosure sale. Question: what happens if someone buys the short sale? They have a statutory right. No, not in short sale. This is in a foreclosure only. They have equitable right. If I sold my property in a short sale, I sold my property. There's no more rights. The right of redemption only applies in a foreclosure. And there is no statutory right here in Illinois. Make sure you know that. What we have instead, we have equitable right of redemption. Has nothing to do with a short sale, by the way. So this right here is the deficiency judgment. The 190,000 is a deficiency judgment. Okay. Real estate financing market. Question: is there a deficiency judgment? No, there isn't. In a short sale, the bank accepts less than what's owed on the property, and they don't come after you for that. It's called a mortgage forgiveness debt. They will not come after you for that money. Long as Congress keeps passing that law every February. So far they have. Short sales slow down quite a bit, but they say they might pick up again. Because of COVID, people are falling behind on their property. Do you have to negotiate the short sale? Yes, you do. First of all, it's the seller's property. The seller, first of all, has to qualify for the short sale, okay? Then what happens, the seller has the right to sell that property, but the bank has to accept the price that the property sold at. The bank has to accept it. and it's hard to work with them. You got to talk to the asset manager. Every bank has what's called an asset manager, and they're sometimes difficult to work with. You have to negotiate the bank. In order to negotiate with the bank, you have to get third-party authorization, a letter from the owner stating that you, as a real estate agent, you have a right to proceed with the short sale on the property. Okay. Real estate financing market. Let's talk about Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve Board, the purpose of Federal Reserve Board is to counteract inflationary and deflationary trends. They set the limits as to what banks could lend out based on how much they have in their banks. So let me explain real quick. First of all, Federal Reserve System, it's not really owned by the federal government. It's just a name that some people bought. There's I don't know how much you know. It's kind of hard to find out information, but there are 13 people in the entire world, 13 people that control almost all of the money in the world. 13 people. These 13 people own all the world banks in every single country. They own all the what's called the world banks in every single country in this planet, except for 3 countries. They do not own the World Bank in North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. But otherwise, they own all the world banks, these 13 people. They meet once a year in Geneva, Switzerland, and they decide what they're going to do. I don't know them, but I know of 2 people who are one of the 13. This has been going on for over 300 years. Over 300 years. Rockefeller and Rothschild are 2 out of the 13. I have no idea who the others are, but that's what it is. So let me give you an idea about banks and exactly how a bank works, okay? Now, if a bank had, I'm just kind of making it simple as possible. If a bank had, let's say, $10 million and what we call demand deposits. Demand deposits, what people have in their checking account, in their savings account, in their CDs. So on the average, I'm just trying to make this as simple as possible. The bank has $10 million in demand deposit. The bank can lend out, on the average, approximately $100 million. This is how banks make their money. See, on that money that they have, what people have in their savings account, they're getting a fraction of 1% of interest on their savings account. Even if you had a jumbo CD, say you had $100,000 in a CD, you're not even getting 1%. It's less than 1% interest. But the $100 million that they're lending out to consumers, what they're doing is they're charging them 3%, 5%, 7%, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 40% interest. All your credit card companies are owned by the banks. That's how banks make their money. Now, if a bank lends, they have 10 million in demand deposit, Federal Reserve Board says they can lend out 100 million. Now, once they reach 100 million, they cannot make any more loans unless they sell off those loans to the secondary mortgage market. So they sell off $100 million worth of loans, then they could go out and generate another $100 million. They reach that point, they sell off their loans, they go out and generate another $100 million worth of loans. This is called disintermediation. It's what keeps money flowing in this country. Investors buy these loans at a discount. No, it's not magic. It's actually since the Federal Reserve Board says, look, you got $10 million in cash, He can lend out $100 million. This is where the Treasury will print up the money. United States Treasury is the world's largest counterfeiters in the world. Just to let you know. They print up money that has no backing to it. But that's what kind of keeps the economy going, too. Now, the primary mortgage market, you can highlight, put an X by that. Okay, you found the home you wanted to buy. Where are you going to go to get the mortgage for it? You go to the people that originate loans. I'm going to be talking about those in a moment. You can highlight, put X by these bullets here. The one way they make their money from two ways. One is by finance charges collected at the closing, like points, loan origination fee, and by recurring income by the interest that they charge. Someone else has a question. U.S. prints money for Federal Reserve Board. U.S. prints money for everyone. The money that they lend out, they give aid to people. It's not backed by gold anymore. It's just, well, it's backed by the United States land. United States owns, believe it or not, they own 75% of the country, of land in this country is owned by the federal government. 75%. I mean, I was surprised it was that high. So they got a lot of land. They could sell the Grand Canyon or something. I don't know what they're going to do. So let's go to the primary mortgage market right now. So you found a home you wanted to buy. Where are you going to go to get the money from? Well, first of all, there's thrifts. Now, unless you're from out east, like Boston or New England area, Boston, Philadelphia, New York, probably never heard of a thrift. They kind of work like savings and loans associations. What they do is that instead of paying you interest, you share in the profits of the bank. But just by coincidence, it's the exact same thing, the interest that you will earn at a savings and loan. That's just a fact. Now, savings associations, well, they used to be called savings and loans, but now they call them saving associations or saving banks. Now, at one point, savings and loans used to make 90% of the residential loans in this country at one point. Right now, these savings associations or saving banks, they do about, well, in the United States, about 30% of the residential loans. In the Chicagoland area, it's probably closer to 40%. I don't know why they changed their name to Savings Association. What happened back in 1989? I don't know if anyone could remember what happened. In 1989, there was something called the $100 billion saving and loan bailout program. Taxpayers had to pay these savings and loans over $100 billion to help bail them out. I was married at the time, and my wife at the time, she worked for a big company, insurance brokers. It's called Marsh & McLennan. And what she did is what she did herself, she was able to save approximately 1,500 banks from going under. She was going from different state to state, meeting with the governors, and what she would do is these banks were failing. Well, what they needed bonds to shore up the bank. Now, the thing is, if the bonds didn't have a good rating, they couldn't help the banks. So what happened, she provided the insurance. Marsh & McLennan Company, insurance brokers, would provide the insurance to shore up the bonds. So if the insurance company had a AAA rating, the bonds had a AAA rating, which allowed people to go and invest and keep these banks solvent. She herself, not her company, but herself, she saved over 1,500 banks. So, and because of the bad name, they changed their names to savings associations. Now, commercial banks generally only commercial banks occasionally will make loans on residential for preferred clients, but generally commercial banks, they make loans on commercial property, and they do a lot of SBA, Small Business Association loans. Now, insurance companies. People don't think of insurance companies as lending out money. I just want to tell you something about insurance companies if you don't know this. Insurance companies have more money than anybody else, than any other industry. Insurance companies have more money than the pharmaceutical companies. Insurance companies have more money than oil companies. You go to any major city, they have a Prudential building, a Hancock building, a Hartford building. Why is the insurance companies that finance that? You want to build a casino in Las Vegas that's going to cost $4 or $5 billion. A bank doesn't have that kind of money. It's the insurance companies that finance those. Sears Tower, when it was built in the late 60s, wasn't financed from a bank. Bank didn't have that kind of money. Allstate Insurance financed the Sears Tower. Why? Because Sears owned a big stake. Sears owned almost 15%, a little bit over 14% of Allstate Insurance at one point. I mean, that's a big stake in the insurance company. So the insurance companies, they have more money than anybody else. Well, wait a minute, I got to take that back. There's one industry that has more money than insurance companies. And you want to know what that industry is? I'll tell you. The Catholic Church. And that's a fact. The Catholic Church has more gold themselves than the entire world put together. The Catholic Church has so much gold sitting in a Bank of London and a Bank of New York, gold reserves. They have more gold than the entire world has altogether. The Catholic Church owns property in about every single city in this entire world. Catholic Church does not pay any taxes either. Now, well, I shouldn't say too much about the Catholic Church, but my priest already told me. He said I was the greatest sinner of all time. I know why he said I was telling him jokes about nuns and priests, and he didn't like it. He says, "You are the greatest sinner of all time." I says, "You mean I have no way of being saved?" He goes, "No." He told me that. No. That's what my priest said to me. But the Catholic, I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Vatican. It's just amazing. I've been there 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It's just amazing to see the Vatican, the Sistine Chapel, the artwork that they have over there, the Pietra, the Madonna, the Raphaels, the Michelangelo sculptures that they have over there. They can't put a value on that. You know what they put the value on all the artwork that they have at the Vatican? $1, because they can't value that. I've been through the Vatican, so I've been to the Pope's residence, to visit. I mean, not as a guest. I wasn't his guest. But, on a Pope's residence, they're not allowed to bring any food from the outside for the Pope. They have to grow everything on the Pope's farm. I saw the farm. I've been on a farm, the Pope's farm. The Pope, where the cows, the pigs, and the chickens live on a Pope's farm, they live in stucco houses. They have windows, they have running water, they have electricity. I'm talking about the cows and the pigs and the chickens. All the vegetables and everything is grown on there. They will not bring food from. He can't order a pizza from outside. I mean, they can make it if they got the ingredients right there. That's it. So it's amazing to see that. But here, let me tell you. I don't know if you ever heard of this. It's very hard to find out information. Did a lot of research, but I find out a little bit here and there. The world's largest corporation, in Latin is called Illuminati. It means the Enlightenment. It's the world's largest corporation. No one knows how to invest in that corporation, but they control all the commodities in the world, the basic commodities, sugar, coffee, everyday things that people need. Illuminati controls all that. Did you know that last year they got a bunch of accountants. They got like hundreds, like over 200 accountants for the Vatican. One of the accountants found a bank book. Last year this happened. That they did not know they had. They forgot about it for 20 years. Guess how much money was in that bank book for the last 20 years? That they even forgot they had. $225 million. They forgot they had it. But you know what $225 million means to the Vatican City? It was like if you ever put on a coat that you haven't worn since last year, you put your hand in a pocket, you find a $20 bill. You know how happy you are just to find a $20 bill? That's the way it was with them when they found nothing more exciting than that, when they found $225 million in a bank account they did not have. I'm just telling you, that's a fact. So insurance companies make those big loans involving hundreds of millions of dollars, even billions of dollars. Credit unions. Now, credit unions only used to make small personal loans or auto loans, but the last 5 to 7 years, they're making more loans on residential property. This next one is pension funds. How the Teamsters and other unions make money for their retirees. They lend out money involving tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of dollars at a time, in endowment funds from universities. Universities have tons of money. Here's another fact. People don't know this. I'm not making anything up right now. Anything I've been saying to you. The major universities in this country, I'm talking about University of Chicago, you can take Northwestern, you can take Harvard, Princeton, Yale, take all the major colleges in this country, Notre Dame. They could give free college education for the next 100 years, free room and board for the next 100 years, and they will still have hundreds of billions of dollars left over. All the professors at these universities, they all have tenure, which means, guess what? They can't be fired for the rest of their life. They will get paid a huge salary. They all have tenure. Investment group financing. We're talking about syndicates that get together. Oh, speaking of that, I don't know. Here, there's something else I just thought of about the Catholic Church. There's another fact. The Catholic Church has laundered money, hundreds of billions of dollars. They did it for the Nazis during World War II. They did it for the mafia. They did it for the drug cartels. You know, all of Rome was bombed out. But guess what? The Vatican City didn't even have a scratch on it during all the war. Did not have one scratch on it. So, because who's going to finance everything? It's the smallest country in the world, smallest army. They have 81 soldiers, Swiss Army Guard, that protects the Vatican City. And it's the richest country ever. Mortgage banking company. So mortgage banking company are the companies that broker the loans between insurance companies and these big projects. That's what a mortgage banking does. Now, this next paragraph where it says mortgage brokers, that's the one you're going to be dealing with the most, you as a licensed agents. Now, see what we do, us as licensed real estate brokers. We bring buyers and sellers together on a transaction. That's what we do. Well, a mortgage broker will bring together a buyer and a lender together. Most mortgage brokers work with as many as, I would say, at least 10, 12, 13 different banks or mortgage companies. And what they do is, depending on your situation, your down payment, how much of a loan you're getting, your credit history, they're going to match you up with the right bank. And it doesn't cost the consumer anything at all. The rates are the same as you went to a bank yourself. Just that they do all the work and they get paid by the bank, by the way. So those are your primary mortgage markets. Now let's talk about the secondary mortgage markets. The secondary mortgage market is a banker's bank. So I want you to highlight, put an X by these three: Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae. Let's talk about those. So this next paragraph, Fannie Mae. You can highlight, put an X by that one. I'm going to talk about these right now. Skip down to the top of the next page where it says Ginnie Mae. Highlight, put an X by Ginnie Mae. And skip down a few paragraphs where it says Freddie Mac. Highlight, put an X by Freddie Mac. Now, there are approximately 30 secondary mortgage markets that exist, but you only need to know about 3 of them. So the first one is going to be Fannie Mae, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they do. Fannie Mae, that's the nickname. The real name is Federal. Oops, lost my pen. The real name is Federal National. Fannie Mae. I forgot now. I can't believe I did this about 10,000 times now. I forgot. I have to go up again. Can't believe I forgot what this is. Yeah, Federal National. I was right. I don't know why I just kind of drew a blank there. So Fannie Mae, Federal National Mortgage Corporation. The nickname is Fannie Mae. There are 3 types of loans that exist, which I'm going to explain to you a little bit later today. But the 3 loans that exist are conventional loans. And conventional loans they require 20% down payment. FHA, Federal Housing Administration, they require 3.5% down. VA, Veterans Affairs, they require 0 money down. Fannie Mae buys all 3. Now, Fannie Mae was created in 1934 by President Roosevelt to help the country out of the Depression. And what he said to these places, I need you to go to, he told the banks out there, I want you to go and make loans. As long as these loans fall into certain criteria, the government will buy them. And in case they default, Fannie Mae will pay off the bank, and then the Fannie Mae would then foreclose on the owner. Now, this was created in 1934, sorry. And when it was created, it was losing hundreds of millions of dollars each and every year. And so what happened in 1998, Fannie Mae became private. It was actually traded at New York Stock Exchange, was taken over by private investors. Now, in 1998, they went from losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year in a very short period of time, within a year or two, from losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year to making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Anyone can invest in Fannie Mae funds. Then what happened? When the government in 1998, after 30 years of the private people running this were making so much money, the government decided to buy them back in 1998. Now remember, when it went private in 1968 to 1998, they were making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Then the government took it back in 1998. And they went in less than a year from making hundreds of millions of dollars to losing hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a fact. That's what it is. Now, when Fannie Mae became private in 1968, then Ginnie Mae was created, Government National Mortgage Association. Then Ginnie Mae was created. Now, Ginnie Mae only buys two types of loans, FHA and VA. And these are both very low down payment or even no down payment loans. A lot of foreclosures under Ginnie Mae. And then the other one I want you to be familiar with, and you got to know what type of loans they buy. We have Freddie Mac, stands for Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation. Freddie Mac only buys one type of loan. They only buy conventional loans. And they usually buy them from savings associations. So those are the three secondary mortgage markets. Those are the only three you need to know. But you need to know what type of loans they buy. Now, there are other ones, like I said, 30. There's something called Sallie Mae. It's for student loans. There's Farmer Mac. I don't know who came up with these nicknames and stuff. I don't know. I think there's a couple, Thelma Sue and Billy Bob and everything else. They must have been from the South, is what I'm guessing. I don't know. Okay. Let's go on to the textbook again. Okay, let's talk about different financing techniques. Let's go on to the straight loans. I'd like you to highlight that. I want you to be a little bit familiar with it. The straight loan is the second worst loan ever out there, the straight loan. A straight loan is this. So let's say you borrowed $300,000 to buy a home. Every month you're paying interest only, nothing on a principal. At the end of 30 years, you still owe $300,000. You better hope that your home appreciates in value. Not a very good loan. It's an awful loan. Next paragraph, amortized loans. The word amort in Latin means to kill. A fully amortized loan is a loan that's killed off over time. The amortized loan is the most common type of loan that exists out there. Most common type of loan that exists. Usually it's a 30-year mortgage. Every month you're making payments, but a portion of it is going towards the principal, a portion towards the interest. In the beginning, it's mostly interest, very low principal, but as time goes on, it takes about 10, 12 years, more towards the principal, less towards the interest. At the end of 30 years, you owe absolutely nothing. Fully amortized loan, most common type of loan, you owe absolutely nothing at the end of 30 years. Now, I'm going to do this calculation for you, but I'm going to do it on a math review. I'm not going to do that one now. Adjustable rate mortgage. An adjustable rate mortgage means that your interest rate is tied to an index. It can go up, it can go down, depending on what index is tied to. It could be inflation, it could be interest rates, it could be T-bills. It's something that someone can look up either in the Wall Street Journal or the financial section of the Tribune and figure out what it is. Usually the rate on adjustable rate mortgage will be lower than a fixed rate mortgage. Why? Because the rates can fluctuate depending on what type of adjustable rate mortgage you have. What is an amortized table? Well, an amortized table, hold on a second. Oops. Tells you that well, we don't have one here. I told them to put one here and they didn't. An amortized table says that if you borrow the $100,000 at 3% interest, what your monthly payments will be with principal and interest. That's what an amortization table is. If you go online, they're very common to see those. Question is, what determines the percent that is paid towards the interest versus the principal on amortized? It depends on the loan amount and the interest rate. That's what determines what percent. But say you're making a payment of $1,000 a month towards principal and interest in the beginning, you're lucky if you got about $20 going towards the principal. The rest is mostly interest. I'm going to show you how the interest is calculated, because the interest is calculated on the outstanding principal balance. Believe me, I'm going to cover that for you, but I'm going to save that for the review. It was a question on the state exam, I know. An amortization table tells you, based on how much money you borrow and what your interest rate is, what your monthly payments, your principal and interest payments will be. I'll try to print up one and I'll download one. I'll give you an example. That's what I do. I try to, well, I'm not going to have it by next week, but I mean by Wednesday, but I have one for you. Okay. I'll make sure I do that. Now, let's go on to a balloon payment loan. The first paragraph here. Now, a balloon payment loan means you have one mortgage payment that's substantially higher than any other payments and retires that debt. Now, a balloon payment loan works like this. You're going to borrow, let's say you borrowed $100,000. They're going to amortize that loan as if you're going to be paying it over the next 30 years. But after, it could be a 3-year balloon, a 5-year balloon, a 7-year balloon. At the end of the, say it's a 5-year balloon, at the end of 5 years, you got to come out with the outstanding principal balance. You got to hope that that you're going to sell this property within 5 years because they want their money, the final payment. Yeah, you can look this up online. I'm going to have, I have one ready for us, amortization table, because I want to make sure you understand what to look for when you get a question like that on the state exam. So I'll make sure I will cover that. Now, this next paragraph, growing equity mortgage, also called a GEM. Now, this is only used for certain professions, mostly doctors and lawyers. I'm going to have it before the 29th. Ooh. Yeah, I'll do it. I don't know if I have time today. Maybe I might do it today, but I will help you out with that. Okay. Now, you should have been to the all-day review on that, because I just recovered everything in the last 2 days. I had an all-day review, both days, Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 5. Long days I taught. It was just a complete review on everything. Now, let me give you an example of a growing equity mortgage, a GEM, as they call it. Like I said, it's only made for certain professions, mostly doctors and lawyers. Got another question here. I don't know when I'm going to do the all-day review. I only do them about every 5 or 6 weeks. I have to get enough people in them. So I had a really small class. I only had 33. Usually I have 50, 60, or 85 people in a class. That's a big class. That's why I do it over 2 days. Okay. So let me talk about a GEM, a growing equity mortgage, also called a rapid payoff mortgage. Now, again, it's mostly available to doctors and lawyers. Why? They know when a doctor or lawyer, when a lawyer gets out of law school and a doctor gets out of medical school, when they start to practice, they know the longer in practice, the more money they're going to make. So let's say the payment on a mortgage is $2,000 a month for this lawyer. Well, the first year it is $2,000 a month. Well, the second year they're going to automatically increase the payments to $2,100 a month. That extra $100 a month is going towards the principal. The third year they're going to increase the payments again by another $100. I'm just giving you an example, to maybe $2,200 a month. That extra $200 a month is going towards the principal. From the fourth year, it might go up to $2,300 a year, and maybe from the fifth year on, from the 5th year plus, it might go up to $2,400. That extra $400 amount is being applied to the principal, which means this 30-year mortgage will probably be paid off within 15 years. So people could do this on their own, but most people are not disciplined enough to do that. So the bank does it automatically. A GEM or rapid payoff mortgage. Someone asked me, is there another one coming up this weekend? No, I don't do the all-day reviews, but once, I'm the only one that does the all-day review. And I only do it once every, it's got to be like 4 to 5 weeks or 6 weeks, as soon as we get enough people for them. I teach a real class every day. I got in my office at 7 o'clock this morning. I taught a class from 9 to 12:30. I'm almost done. I got 2 more sessions. Then I start another life class. So I've been working right now so far more than 13 hours. I only have an hour and a half left to go, and then I'm done for the day. Monday and Wednesday, I put in 14-hour days, 14, 15-hour days. Yeah, they will contact everyone about the all-day review. They will contact you. It is a good idea to take the all-day review just before you take the state exam. You work way too many hours. Thank you for teaching us. You know what, Alberto? Let me tell you something. I could teach for 20 hours a day and come back the next day and teach another 20 hours a day. I want to tell you something. When I work really hard. But I also want to tell you, when I go on vacations, I go on vacation. I don't take a phone with me. I don't talk to anybody. Oh, my vacations are usually minimum 4 weeks, but I usually take 1 2-month vacation every year, and about 3 to 4 week vacations a year. This is the first year in like 30 years I haven't taken a vacation. I go to Europe for 40, 50 days. I've been to, well, last year I took a 40-day cruise. I went up to Iceland and Norway and Greenland and everything else up there. So I work real hard, but I take long vacations. And then guess what I do? I only answer my emails. I tell everyone I'm on vacation for the next 60 days. You can reach me by email, and I check my email between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and not again until the next day. That's my vacation. That's what I do. So I work hard. That's why I say I don't mind. So I'm up every day at 4 in the morning, every day. Unfortunately, even on vacation, I'm up. Yep, work hard, play hard. That's what I do. First year, I'm not going on vacation, so I'm working around my house. Okay, reverse mortgage. Let me talk about that one. That's about the worst mortgage that's out there. A reverse mortgage. Well, here's what it is. Actually, I think I'm fairly smart at. I can figure things out. First of all, reverse mortgage is only available to people over the age of 62, and they got equity in their property. They can borrow on the equity of their home. They wanted to. Because what happens to people when they retire, Social Security doesn't go up, pensions do not go up, and they live from check to check. Then what they want to do, they want to borrow some money, put in new windows, new furnace in their home, so they get a reverse mortgage. The thing about the reverse mortgage, see, they go to a bank and apply for a loan. Bank says, you know what? You're living from check to check. If we gave you $20,000 to fix your home, you have no way of paying us back. Well, they got an idea. Why don't we use the equity in your home? So they use the equity in their home. And here's what the advertisement says. Most people will not outlive the equity in their home. I mean, if you need money, they're going to give you 200, 300, 400, 500 a month. And they're charging you a much higher interest rate. And so here's what you're not going to live the equity in your home. So guess what you have to look forward to dying or being homeless. Now, I called up about 5 or 6 companies to find out about reverse mortgages. I'm over 62. I'm way over 62. But I have a house. I have no mortgage on it. And I just wanted to find out about it. Now, they sent me information, and I talked to people for hours, and still I do not understand what a reverse mortgage is. I mean, I know what it stands for, but I can't have anyone explain to me what all the terms are and the cost. I mean, they keep goofing around with this. I says, why don't you give me a straight answer? I'm still getting letters. This is years later. I'm getting letters from these mortgage guys, about a reverse mortgage. No one would ever give me a straight answer. I didn't need it. I just wanted to know. I mean, I have no debt. I have no mortgage. I don't need it, but I just wanted to find out about it, and I couldn't get a straight answer. Question is, for a GEM mortgage, are there conditions if you happen to lose your job or change career track with less income potential? Not that, to my knowledge, there isn't. They kind of trust you because, I mean, if you're a doctor or you're a lawyer, you're pretty much going to stay in that profession. You're not going to go from a lawyer to being a clerk in a gas station. You're going to stay in the law business. If you're a doctor, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to go and I don't know what, rake leaves or something like that. So they feel you're going to stay in your profession. That's why it's only available to certain professions. Why not get a HELOC loan instead of reverse mortgage? Well, because people don't qualify. They can't get a HELOC, a home equity loan, whatever it is. I forgot what it stands for. They can't get it. Why? They're on a fixed income. They have no income coming in. If they got the loan, they couldn't pay it back. That's why they're forced to do a reverse mortgage. That's why they're forced to do it. Home equity line of credit, right. They can't do it because they don't have any income. As I said, they're living from check to check, and they won't be able to pay them back. That's why they have to get the reverse mortgage, which is a horrible loan. Now, I'm going to talk about the three different types of mortgages, but before I go to conventional mortgages, I'm going to come to that in just 1 minute. I want to talk about where it says determining LTV, loan to value. Now, I'd like you to highlight, put an X by that. Let me explain this one to you. Loan to value is a percent of the loan amount to the purchase price. And that's what your LTV is. How do you figure out the LTV? You take the loan amount and you divide it by the purchase price. You hit your percent key, and that gives you your LTV. It's always a percent. You hit your percent key, not the equal sign. Give you your LTV. For example, the purchase price of a property was $525,000. You put a down payment of $90,000. Question is, what is your LTV? So the purchase price of the property was $525,000. You have a down payment of $90,000. Question is, what is your loan to value? So, this is exactly what you will see. So you take $525,000. You minus your down payment of $90,000. So you're getting a loan for the difference, which is $435,000. figure out your loan to value, take $435,000 divided by $525,000, and you hit your percent key. Someone says 82.86. That sounds about right. So 435,000 divided by 525,000. You just hit your percent key. Yeah, I got 82.85 or 82.86%. That is my loan to value. That's exactly what you will see. Okay. Now, let's go back to our text. And let me tell you a couple of things to highlight. I'm going to tell you what you need to highlight. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down everything you need to know about these different types of loans. So now, where it says conventional loans, I want you to highlight, put an X by both of these paragraphs here under conventional loans. I'm giving you everything you need to highlight. Then I want to skip on to the next page, or might be a couple pages away. Let me just see. Let me go to page 109, in about the middle, where it says private mortgage insurance. Highlight, put an X by that one. Then, where it says FHA insured loans, highlight, put an X by that paragraph. And that next paragraph, certain technical requirements must be met, highlight, put an X by the next two bullets there. I'm going to write down everything you need to know. Now, let's go to FHA assumption rules, highlight, put an X by that. And then where it says VA guaranteed loans, highlight, put an X by that paragraph. They said there's over 25.5 million veterans, closer to 30 million veterans out there. But the paragraph after, like a FHA loan, VA loan is a misnomer. Highlight, put an X by that one. Once you skip down 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. To determine what portion of the mortgage loan the VA will guarantee, the veteran must apply for a certificate of eligibility. Oops. All right, I made this larger, that's okay. This next paragraph, the VA, that first line, highlight, put X by that one. The VA will also issue a CRV, Certificate of Reasonable Value. I'm going to explain everything to you. And one more on here, assumption rules. Highlight, put an X by that. So everything I told you, put an X by. Now I'm going to write everything down for you. So there are 3 types of loans that exist. Now, the 3 types of loans that exist, we have conventional mortgages, we have FHA, and we have VA loans. So let me tell you everything you need to know about these loans. First one, I'm going to talk about conventional. Down payment required on conventional loan is 20% down, which means we have a loan to value of 80%. Now, the reason why a bank wants you to come in with 20% down is that less likely you're going to default on that mortgage. You got more skin in the game. Now, all conventional mortgages, you can buy a property with less than 20% down. If you ever go in with less than 20% down, you need something called MIP. MIP. I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. It's called PMI. Let me erase that part. Okay. Sorry, I made a mistake. You need PMI. Stands for private mortgage insurance. How private mortgage insurance works? Well, let me just write something over here. I'll give you an example. Let me scroll down a little bit and give myself some space. So let's say you bought a property and you paid $300,000 for it. Now, bank's willing to give you a 80% loan to value. Loan to value, which is $240,000. Say you have a 5% down payment, which is $15,000. You are short $45,000. Well, the bank will give you that $45,000 for that other 15%, but they're making you pay MIP insurance. How MIP insurance is? It's a monthly fee that the consumer pays, the borrower pays. And you're supposed to pay it only up to the point that you got 80%, 20% equity in the property. Then you don't have to pay it anymore. But they don't like to take it off. It's a cash cow. It can cost the average consumer anywhere from, I say, $175 a month to about $400 a month. They don't like to remove that. It's nothing but a cash cow for them. Well, that's how MIP works. So let me get back to my chart here. Now, all conventional loans, it's PMI for conventional. It's MIP for FHA. I'm going to cover that for you. It's PMI, private mortgage insurance. Now, all conventional loans have this. It's called a due on sale clause, which means the loan cannot be assumed. The loan cannot be assumed. Another name for due on sale, and do not forget this, because you need it for the state exam. Another name for due on sale is called alienation. Another name for due on sale is called alienation clause. Now, qualifying ratios for conventional. 28% over 36%. Remember what that means? No more than 28% of your gross monthly income can go towards your PITI, your monthly housing cost, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. No more than 36% of your income can go towards PITI plus any long-term debt. And I'm talking about student loans, car payments, credit cards, things that are not going to be paid off in the next year. That's everything you need to know about conventional. Now let's talk about FHA loans. Down payment required under FHA is 3.5% down, which means we have a loan to value of 96.5%. Now, under FHA, whenever you go with less than 20% down, you need something called MIP. Stands for mortgage insurance premium. MIP, mortgage insurance. It's the same thing as PMI. But see, conventional didn't want anything to do with FHA, who came out with this at first. Oh no, we can't call it MIP. We can't be like them. We'll call it PMI. It's the exact same thing. Now, FHA has something called this UFMIP, which means besides the monthly payments, they have UF stands for upfront MIP, which means 1% of the loan amount yet to come with upfront. And they're add that to the mortgage. Besides the monthly MIP, that's what UF stood for, upfront. See, I thought UF stood for something else. It's probably right about that too. Now, all FHA loans can be assumed. Anyone can assume an FHA loan. They have no due on sale alienation clause. The most important thing about FHA does not make loans, okay? FHA does not make loans. You go to a local lender for the loan, FHA will insure the loan. It's insured. What that means that if you default on this mortgage, FHA will pay off the bank and FHA will foreclose on you. That's the most important thing you need to know about FHA. Now, this whole thing, FHA, is big law passed by Congress. And two main parts of the law. The main part is this. It's called the 203B plan. The 203B loan, 203B, allows people to buy a home, finance a home to buy. Then there's something called the 203K, and I want you to be familiar with these, both of these. The 203K allows people to not only buy a home, but they give them money to also rehab the property. Now, qualifying ratios under FHA, 29%, over 41%, which means you can have more debt and qualify under FHA than you can under conventional. Now, let's talk about VA. Here's what you need to know about VA. Down payment required under VA, 0, no money down. VA has the highest loan to value because it's 100%. Now, in order to get a VA loan, you need what's called a certificate of eligibility. Your certificate of eligibility is your general discharge or honorable discharge from the service. It's called a DD-214. You can't, here's the thing. We have over 30 million veterans here. And I'm not talking about all those old guys from Vietnam. There's a lot of people that fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, other places in the world, and they're entitled to their benefits. And the thing is about this is you got to look at every opportunity. Twice, earlier this year, twice this happened in my office with two different agents. Two people want to come in and buy a home. They didn't have enough money for a down payment. I happened to ask them, because I was in the office, have you ever served in a service? They go, yes. You have your discharge, your DD-214? They go, yes. Why don't we go VA? Both of them were able to buy home. Actually, one bought a 3-unit building. Agents were ready to let those guys walk out the door. You got to look at every opportunity that exists out there. Now, you also need, under VA, what's called a CR. You need a CRV. The CRV stands for Certificate of Reasonable Value. I had you highlight everything I'm putting down here. except they didn't have the 203B or 203K. I just added that for you. The CRV is Certificate of Reasonable Value. What is that? The VA uses their own appraisers. They would not use the bank appraisers because they want to make sure any veteran that buys a home, they could make sure they can. It's a decent place to live. That's what they want to make sure. Now, all VA loans can be assumed. Anyone can assume a VA loan. You need to be a veteran to get a VA loan, but civilians are allowed to assume a VA loan. And but they're tying up the eligibility of that veteran. So let me just explain something real quick. Let's say that I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I let you assume that loan, tying up my eligibility. Well, let me wait. I'll come back to that in a minute. Let me say this. I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I lived there for a few years, and then I sold the home, and I paid off the loan. As soon as my VA loan was paid off, my eligibility has been restored. So I could take my VA benefits, go out and buy another home. I lived there for a few years, and then I sold that home, and I paid off the loan. Then my eligibility has been restored. So you can use your VA benefits over and over and over again, long as it's paid off. Now, I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I let you assume that loan, and you're tying up my eligibility. I cannot use my VA benefits to buy a home until that loan has been paid off. So, question for you, state exam wise. I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I let you assume that loan, tying up my eligibility. Question to all of you. Can I buy another home? Again, I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I let you assume that loan, tying up my eligibility. Can I go out and buy another home? I'm not, now be careful about adding something. I didn't say I paid off the loan. Here's what I said. Be careful of adding something to it. What I said, I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I let someone else assume that loan, tying up my eligibility. Can I go out and buy another home? I didn't say anything about the first home being paid off, so be careful of that. So you're saying, and some people say no, some people say yes. Well, all right, then let me ask you this. The answer is yes. I can go out and buy another home. Now, how can I go out and buy another home? One person says conventional or FHA. That is true. That I could go and buy a home conventional. I could go and buy a home FHA. But there's another way. How else can I buy a home? I could go conventional, I could go FHA. I can't go VA because I'm tying up my eligibility. Cash. Yes, I could go cash. And there's one more. Okay. This is a state exam question, so let me read this to you. Yeah, you can say option to buy, but that's not the one on the state exam. I use my VA benefits to purchase a home. I let you assume that loan, tying up my eligibility. Tying up all my eligibility, not the balance, tying up my eligibility. I cannot go VA. How can I go out and buy a home? I could go conventional. I could go FHA. I could go cash. One more. There's one more. It's on the state exam. Owner financing. Owner financing. I will remember what I just said. Now, The most important thing about a VA loan is this. VA does not make loans. The VA does not make loans. You have to go to a local lender for the loan. What the VA would do, they will guarantee the loan. It's a guaranteed loan. Now, veteran can buy any property up to 4 units, as long as it's owner occupied. Owns its owner occupied. There's no PMI or MIP with VA. There is no PMI or MIP with VA. Do you know why? The loan is guaranteed. That's why there isn't any. It's guaranteed loan. Let's talk about qualification ratios. Here they are. You see them? There aren't any. The VA will do whatever it can to make sure any veteran can buy a home. It's a good benefit, yes. Yeah, tell your brother-in-law if he served in the military. Absolutely. You should be aware of this. There's a lot of veterans out there, 30 million veterans out there right now. It is a hot market. It sure is. You know what? Speaking of that, I want to tell you something, not funny, but I tell you what happened. When the market was really hot in early 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, a lot of people joined the National Guard. Why? To get the benefits so they could buy a home with no money down. I mean, a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people at that time joined the service, National Guard, really, reserve. So what happened in early 2000, United States went to war with Iraq. And a lot of people thought, well, they don't want to fight in the war. They thought that war in Iraq would be over in 6 months. It lasted for like 10 years. So what they did, a lot of military personnel, they got pregnant. It was like over 10,000 people a month were getting pregnant. Why? Because if you're pregnant, they will not send you, they will not deploy you overseas. They will not deploy you overseas. What they would do is wait till that baby was born, and your baby will stay stateside, and you'll be deployed overseas. Didn't work out. And those people wound up serving. Did not work out. So that's everything you need to know about the 3 types of loans that exist. Everything. Now, one more thing I want to mention. On the state exam, they try to trip you up. They will say that FHA insures loans and FHA guarantees loans. No, they don't. FHA only insures. That's it. VA does not insure. VA guarantees the loan. Do not get these mixed up with each other. That's exactly what they try to do to you on the state exam. Okay. I thought I'd be done by now, but I'm not, but that's okay. I want to cover everything. Talk about other financing techniques. Let's talk about PMM, purchase money mortgage. You can highlight it. You don't have to put an X by it. Kind of rare that it shows up. A purchase money mortgage means that someone will finance a portion of the down payment or a portion of the mortgage, not the entire amount, because then that's owner financing. So a PMM, purchase money mortgage, the owner is going to finance a portion of the down payment or a portion of the loan amount, not the entire thing. That's what a PMM is. A package loan, you can highlight, put an X by that paragraph. A package loan is a loan that includes both real and personal property. Now, see, when you buy a brand new home, new construction, new homes do not include the appliances, the washer, dryer, range, refrigerator. And they say that you need those things, that the bank knows you need those things. It says, go ahead and buy the appliances you need, whatever thousands it costs. As long as the developer installs them, they're add the appliances to the mortgage. You know what? It's easier to pay $8,000 or $10,000 over the course of 30 years than $8,000 or $10,000 at once. So package loan involves both real and personal property. Blanket loan. I want you to highlight, put an X by that. A blanket loan is a loan that covers several parcels of property. And as you pay it down, they release a portion of that property to you. Let me give you an example. This is a blanket loan. I'm a developer. I just purchased 100 acres of land. Then I want to build a new subdivision. Now, I owe the bank for the land $10 million. Now, they're not going to give me title if I pay off that $10 million. But I don't have excuse me, I don't have $10 million to pay it off. I am able to get $2 million. I gave the bank $2 million. What they're going to do, they're going to release 20 acres of the land to me. They're going to give me the title to the 20 acres. Now I have the title to this 20 acres. And now I can start building those homes and selling them. So I build homes and I sell. And I make more money. I give the bank another $2 million. They're going to release another 20 acres to me. Now I have the title to this 20 acres. I build the homes and I sell those. I make money. I give the bank another $2 million. So as I pay down the mortgage, they give me title to the property. You ever see a subdivision going up and they have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? Why? Because they don't even own the land yet. They don't start phase 2 till phase 1 is sold out. They don't start phase 3 till phase 1 and 2 is sold out and so forth. Because they don't even own the land yet. Now, a wraparound loan. A wraparound loan is a mortgage that involves the same property, but you have 2 mortgage payments on it. Let's say, and I'll give you an example of that. I have a first mortgage. And I owe, let's say I owe $50,000 on this first mortgage. My payments are $400 a month. I got a lot of equity in my property. I don't want to touch that first mortgage. I have a good rate. So I get a second mortgage for $250,000. Let's say those payments are $1,400 a month. The second note holder, they don't like being in second place, meaning if I default on that first mortgage, that first mortgage will get paid. Chances are the second note holder will not get paid. So what they do, the second note holder, they total up the first and second mortgage. In this case, it comes out to $1,800. I make one payment of $1,800 to the second note holder. They take out what they have coming, and they make sure I never miss that first mortgage payment, so I won't default. That's why they call this a wraparound. I have one mortgage payment right here, this 1,800, that wraps around two mortgages. That's a wraparound. Open-ended loan. That next paragraph. Let me scroll up a little bit. Now, an open-ended loan is well, let me explain it. Let me write it down for you. Sometimes it's easier for me to explain. Let's say I bought a home and I borrowed $100,000 several years ago. And I had this home for a while and I'm paying down the mortgage and I now owe $60,000. Well, open-ended loan says I could go back and borrow this up to my original amount, this case being $40,000, without rewriting the loan. It seems like it's an equity loan, but it's not. They call it open-ended mortgage. Let's talk about construction loan. Now, a construction loan is for a builder. I'm a developer. I'm a builder. I want to build a single-family home. Now, I need $400,000 to build this home. Now, the bank's not going to give me the $400,000 all at once. They're going to give it to me in draws. Let's say I need $60,000 to excavate and sink my foundation. Well, the bank gives me the $60,000. Now, I have my foundation in. I go back to the bank. Okay, I need another $100,000. I want to put up the walls and put it under roof, as they call it. I want to put it under roof. Well, before they give me that $100,000, someone from the bank is going to come out to my job site and they're going to look to make sure that my foundation's in place. They're going to make sure that all the contractors, the subcontractors, architects, everyone is paid before they release any more money to me. Now I got my walls up. My walls are up. It's under roof. Now I need another $75,000 to start doing the interior. Well, before they give me that money, someone from the bank's going to from the bank. I set up a line of credit for $400,000. I only pay interest on what I use. I use that $60,000 to excavate and place my foundation. I'm paying interest only on that. The interest rate is a lot higher right now. It's probably close to 9%. Why? It requires a lot more supervision by having someone from the bank come out and check it out. Usually used for builders. Now, well, I lost everybody. Did I lose everybody? I don't know what happened. 9:15, 9. I was only out for about a minute, it looks like. So, all righty. Now, sales leaseback. Okay, good. A sales leaseback. Let me explain this to you. A sales leaseback is sometimes if you drive along the highway, you see a factory building for sale, lease back. I own a factory. I want to sell it to you. You're the investor. There are benefits to me as the owner of this factory. There are benefits to you as a buyer of this factory building. I'm not selling you my business. I'm only going to sell you the building. Let's talk about the benefits to me first. I sell you my factory building for whatever, a couple $1 million. What I do is I free up all the equity in the building. I can take this money, I can pay down my debt, I can take some of this money, throw it back in my factory, retool, become more efficient. So one benefit, I free up all the equity. Another benefit, I'm going to sign a long-term lease with you. And that lease I'm signing with you means it's a business expense. I get to write that off my expenses, off my profits. Another benefit to me, since I'm going to stay at the same location, I don't have to worry about losing employees or customers. I'm still at the same location. My benefits, and those are good. Let's talk about benefits to you. You're the investor. One benefit to you is that you get to buy a piece of property, and as an investor, you can write off depreciation on that property. It's a tax write-off. You're allowed to do that. Another benefit to you, I'm going to sign a long-term lease with you. You don't have to worry about having an empty factory. I'll sign a long-term lease. And you know I got the money. Why? Your bank just gave me a bunch of money. And another benefit to you is since I used to own the property, I'm really familiar with the property. I know about the mechanics of the property. I know about the electrical system, the heating systems. It'd probably be less maintenance for you. Now, let's talk about a buy down. You got to highlight that. A buy down is where someone pays points to temporarily lower the interest rate. Usually, I would say for the first couple years, first 3, 4, 5 years, it temporarily lowers the interest rate. Usually, it's the seller that will pay because of a high interest rate, so it can be more affordable to the buyers. Home equity loan. A home equity loan is when you borrow on the equity of your property. You lived there for a while, you made some improvements, you got equity in your property, you get a home equity loan. Pay out some other bills or whatever else you want to do. Okay, financing legislation, Regulation Z, Truth in Lending Act. Do I have a question? Let's see. If you have any audio issues, I'm here, but might be popping in and out. That's fine, Rebecca, just as long as you're, whatever you have to do to make sure you're with us. All right. All right, financing legislation. I think I told you that, or I don't know, probably didn't, but there are very, very few laws out there that protect the consumer. Regulation Z, Truth in Lending Act is one of them. Now, the purpose of the Regulation Z, Truth in Lending Act, okay, let me just see. Okay, someone's switching devices. Okay, Kenya, thank you. Is to let the borrowers know the true cost of obtaining credit. Now, the total finance charge towards the very bottom here is going to be calculated on the annual percentage rate. Must include any loan fees, finder fees on the next page, service charges, points, and interest. Now, before this, excuse me, before this law came out, let's say you found a home you wanted to buy, and you call 5 different banks. You ask them what their interest rate is. Here's what you will see. One bank you call up that says, well, our interest rate is 3%. Another bank says ours is 1.25% interest. Another one might say, well, ours is 2.25% interest. Another one might say it's 1.9% interest. Another one might say 2.5% interest. Now, if you look at these, you think the best interest rate is 1.25%. But what if I said your interest rate is 1.25%? But that's per day, each and every single day. It's 3% a year. It's 2.5% every 7 months. It's 1.9 every 17 weeks. I mean, when you call banks, they will give you so many different numbers. And the thing is, unless you're a mathematician, unless you're a banker, you had no idea which was the best rate. Now, Regulation Z, Truth in Lending states all interest rates must be on the annual percentage rate, the APR. If these are all on the annual percentage rate, well, of course, the best rate will be 1.4. And this way, even a child can figure which is the best rate. So that was the main thing about the Regulation Z, Truth in Lending Act. Now, this 3-day right of rescission I'm going to talk about. This only applies if you're doing a refinance or a home equity loan. That you have until midnight of the third day after you close to say, hey, I don't want this loan. I want my money back. They cannot charge you anything. That's only if you're doing a refinance on your home or you're doing a equity loan. Doesn't apply if you're getting a new loan. That doesn't apply. Now, this very next two paragraphs, I want you to highlight, put an X by it under advertising, and there's 5 bullets underneath there as well. Highlight, put an X by all of this. Now, Regulation Z provides strict regulation of real estate advertising and all media, newspapers, flyers, billboards, websites, television, direct mailing, everything. Now, general phrases like flexible terms are available may be used, but details are given, then they must comply with the act. The next paragraph, specific credit terms like down payment, monthly payment, dollar amount of the finance charge, or the term of the loan are referred to as trigger terms. These terms may not be advertised unless the advertisement includes the following information: cash price, required down payment, number, amount, due dates, annual percentage rate, total of all payments made over the life of that loan. So let me give you an example of a couple questions that you should see. Here's one of the ads. Buy this home with a low interest rate. Buy this home with a low interest rate. This is my advertising. Now, with this particular advertising, I want you to remember this because you see this on the state. I don't have to disclose anything. I don't have to disclose the cash price, required down payment, due dates of all the payments, total number of payments, interest rate. I have to disclose nothing to you with this, just a general phrase. Now, buy this home with a low interest rate of 3%. Now I had to disclose everything to you. The down payment, required down payment, cash price, interest rate, number of due dates of all the loans, of all the payments. I have to disclose everything. I want to make sure you understand me. So you might see something like that. You might see something like this. Buy this home with easy monthly payments. This ad standing alone, I had to describe nothing. I don't have to disclose anything to you. But if I said buy this, and my advertisement says buy this home with easy monthly payments of $1,500 a month. Now I would have to disclose everything to you. Anytime I put a number, if I said zero down, I had to disclose everything. That's what this law is about. So purchasers know the true cost of purchasing a home. Those are the things I want you to know. ECOA, Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Now, you can highlight, put an X by that. I'm not too worried about all the different protected categories. But the purpose of ECOA is prevent any type of discrimination in the granting of credit. The main thing I want you to know, they cannot discriminate against you based on age, long as you're over the age of 18, and if you're collecting any type of public assistance. Someone can use any type of public aid, including food stamps, to help qualify for a loan, long as you can get a letter from the public aid department stating you're going to continue to receive this money for, I'm not sure how many years, a certain number of years. Now, there's a man who is 98 years old, 98. He applies for a loan to purchase a home that's going to be paid off in 30 years. This 98-year-old man applies for a loan that's going to be paid off in 30 years. Does the lender need to give them that? Do they have to grant them that loan? I'm asking you. Guy's 98 years old. He wants a 30-year loan. Oh, my sound went away. Is my sound back? Yeah, they have to give him the loan if he's qualified. Yes, they have to give him the loan as long as he's qualified. Why? You don't know that this guy's going to live for another 30 years. You just don't know that. Why would a lender give a loan to a 25-year-old for 30 years? How do you know that 25-year-old person is going to live for 30 years? So, yes, if the guy's qualified, yes, they must give him that loan. Some of you will see a question just like that. All right. A couple, you have some computer problem, audio problems, but I think you're getting back to it. So, Alberto, you said statistics. People don't often live past 100 years old. Well, you might be right, but you don't know that, do you? You don't know that. So that's why they can't discriminate if they're qualified. I think, let's see. Yep, that's the end of this chapter 6.